Well, here we have it. I went on vacation and didn't miss my husband, so I divorced him. Yeah, you read that right. Let's dig into this, guys. So, 40-year-old woman celebrates her 40th birthday on, you guessed it, a girls' trip, as you can tell in the picture. Now, a lot of us have been talking about these girls' trips, these girls' nights, and you go with your single friends, your single ladies, all of a sudden you come back, you either cheated on the man, you had some crazy revelations that you want to divorce him, leave him, what have you. Now, she has 4 children, so any of these decisions that she makes to leave him, it doesn't just directly affect her, it affects him and the 4 kids, right? So this is what's crazy. So last May, she decides to go on this quote-unquote girls trip. She comes back saying that she had so much fun on this so-called trip, partying, drinking, whatever on the beach, that she realized while she was there that she missed her kids, but she didn't miss him. That's all. She realized she didn't miss him. So she realized, you know what? When I get back home, I'm just gonna end it. I don't feel any excitement going back home to him. I only just miss my kids. This is what we're talking about, guys. This is exactly what we talk about on these lives and on all these posts. Why do we think 80% of divorces are initiated by women? Here is one of them. Let me not forget to mention this. So she went on that trip in May. By July, she already had a new boyfriend. So what does that tell you guys? Come on. Make it make sense.
Juicy! So, ladies and gentlemen, I found this article that's written by Alicia Jane from Medium that titles 80% of women don't initiate divorces. It's a lot more complex than that, in which she says the devil is in the detail, and this detail tells a very important story. I know there's a lot of regulars saying women file 80% of the divorces. Kevin Samuels would say it, Coach Big Al would say it, Uncle Phil would say it. Even like other divorce family law sisters, even the lead attorney would say something like this. But I look at this research here and they basically say it's like a lot deeper than we all think. And the author basically is a former sex worker and a sex clinical worker who has a psychology degree, who currently works as a sex therapist. So if we dig into what she's saying, and for many of y'all don't know, my name is Christian Paul, the host of Nerd Chronicles, the proud, lame, and the socially awkward nerd. Right. So we find out from what the author is saying. He says a popular statistic that gets thrown around is that 80% of women initiate divorces, in which the figure appears to have come from the Mike and Roosevelt study of who wants to break up, gender and break up in heterosexual couples. Let me try to pause, see if I can find the book here. And ladies and gentlemen, this is basically the article that actually titles Who Wants to Break Up. Fair use to actually be more specific here. Let me try to be very clear on this. And also take note, ladies and gentlemen, the data that's actually given up in that article, which you have that 80% rate, actually took place around 2009 through 2015, according to Roosevelt's article. We'll try and discuss those charts literally in a different video to come. But let's go dig right into the clip here. Basically, it should be noted, according to the woman, the study that was looks at a few thousand divorces up in the United States, actually found that in 69% of the cases, the woman was the one who did the petition for her, so it does actually show 80%. Juicy!
Um,
It
doesn't accurately show it. In terms of where the 80% figure came from, my assumption is that perhaps people mistakenly took the 90% figure for college-educated women, including the study, and the 69% figure, overall figure, and came to 80%, which would be wrong if they did, Trip back statistics, ladies and gentlemen, and that's why your professional mathematician statistician is here to try and clarify some issues and not try and dig into some numbers, try to evaluate to make sure that those charts and studies are legitimate. Now, according back to what the author is saying, perhaps he just looking at the wrong study, we don't know, but it does seem incorrect. It appears when it comes to the United States, research more consistently shows the number to be 60 to 70%. with close to 60% being the most consistent figure. Given further credence, 60% being the most likely to figure, and the fact that in the ONS in the United Kingdom consistently shows that when it comes to petitioning for divorce, it is 60% women who do the petitioning versus 40% men. Whatever figure you go with, one thing is clear: women are more likely to petition for divorce than men. That's a common denominator here. The question is why, especially considered outside of marriage, men and women are equally as likely to initiate a breakup.
Juicy!
And he says it's not because women are less likely to be happy in marriage than men, which is really popular to say that the reason women are more likely to initiate a divorce is because marriage benefits men more than women, and so women are more likely to want to get out. I ain't gonna lie, when I first heard this figure years back, my first assumption was this, yet there's no real evidence anywhere to say that this is actually true, in which the majority of the evidence overall shows that there's little difference when it comes to likely satisfaction, not in marriage between men and women. In other words, according to what the author is saying, it's actually way more gray than what it claims to be. Now, it leads to not the point to where it leads to women being more likely to file for divorce than men. Yes, there are ways where marriage favors men, but there are also ways where marriage equally favors women. With this in mind, it begs the question, why are women more likely to file for divorce? To find the answer, I spoke to a friend of mine who works as a divorce lawyer and asked her why women were more likely to file for divorce. He schooled me that it was inequality, but not in the way that I had thought.
Juicy!
And Citado saying divorce favors women. There are two trains of thoughts. Marriage was initially built to make a man stick around and provide for a woman and any children they should have. And marriage was built to ensure women gave a man sexual loyalty, i.e. so you would know any children they had were his. The truth is, it was actually most likely sexual for both purposes. What this means is marriage in itself has always benefited men and women equally, but always in different ways. Even before there was marriage, unions between men and women existed. These unions were basically an early form of marriage, and many believe that these unions have existed potentially for hundreds of thousands of years, if not longer. Again, they benefited men and women equally, but in different ways. So, translation, they do provide an equal impact for men and women, but it works for them in various different ways, not exactly the same within the two throughout. Alright? Yet, one area that has always been to the benefit of men is that if they wanted to leave, it was easier for them to survive than for a woman. This is why in cultures like Egypt and Rome, along with the majority of other ancient societies, even though divorce was legal, it was always much more costly for a man to initiate one than for a woman. Divorce for men was not the end, but for many women, it could be. Many argue that this is why divorce was gotten rid of, because if a man divorced a woman, it was much more difficult for her to survive. So a popular train of thought is that the reason that Christianity, along with the Muslim faith, and others decided that couples can no longer divorce was to actually stop men abandoning women rather than the other way around. Regardless of the reasoning, the fact is, whether you go back to ancient societies where divorce was allowed, or whether you come to modern societies where divorce is again allowed, one thing is clear. Since the dawn of marriage, society has always made it cost more for a man to get a divorce than for a woman. Now, and what the author basically explains here, how modern society makes divorce more costly for men than women. When explaining why women are more likely to file for divorce than men, to express their point, my friend asked me a question. She said, if you earn more than your partner and you knew that divorce would cost you a large amount of money, would that influence whether you chose to get divorced or not? In the majority of relationships, there's financial imbalances on the male side. They typically earn more than their partners, so if they get divorced, it typically costs them more financially. It should be known that being with a partner that earns more money than you can make it more difficult to leave them, i.e. become dependent on those earnings. But if you're not depending on, i.e. you can survive on your own, divorce will cost you less financially than your partner. That means, financially speaking, divorce normally costs a man more than it does a woman, which inevitably makes men less likely to overall initiate divorce than women, and it's more than just that. My friend explained to me like this. He said over her career, he has dealt with many men who had left their wives but never filed for divorce.
Juicy!
My friend told me that this happens because they hope that by delaying divorce, they will have to give up less money. That means many men leave their wives but do not file for divorce. The women do it. My friend said most often that's to aspiration that their partners fail to do so. This reality is source of divorce figures when it comes to men versus women initiating them.
making it seem like women initiate more divorce than they actually do. And it's not just finances that distort the figures, there's another reason. The children. The author's friend put it to her like this: if you knew a divorce could cost you full custody of your children, would you be as likely to want a divorce if you knew you would get full custody? Or worse, that you would be named primary care in a joint custody deal? It's virtually guaranteed in every country on the planet that in the case of divorce, the woman will get named the primary care and the man will get secondary visitation rights. Even when custody is shared, more often the woman ends up being the primary care. After all, kids cannot keep bouncing between the houses forever. This is not because the fathers do not want to be involved. For example, in the United Kingdom, 10% of children do not live with both of their parents, and the vast majority live with their mothers. And the vast majority of their fathers in these cases want to see their kids more but aren't able to. These factors matter when it comes to who is more likely to end the marriage. To explain one of the big reasons men are more likely to divorce than women when children are involved is simply because they know that a woman will get the kids and as such probably the house. This of course is happening in the majority of cases in all countries. After all, if you have kids, when you divorce, you want to keep on normality as much as possible, so allowing the kids to stay in the home with the mother simply makes sense. This makes men, when they are dependent on and involved, less likely to pursue a divorce, even if they want one. Also, it again makes men less likely to petition for one, even if they end in the marriage. My friend put it to me like this: often, men, if they have children and if they have left their wife, do not petition for divorce. This is because as long as they remain married, they retain full custody of the children so it can turn up whenever they want to see the children. But the moment the divorce goes through, in most cases they become secondary carers, and so from then on we'll need permission from the mother. Now, final words from Alicia. The reason women are filing for divorce more than men is that divorce is highly unequal and favors women.
Juicy!
My friend best put it to me like this: imagine if overnight the law would change men got to be primary carers of children in the case of divorce. Will women still be most likely to initiate divorce then? That's why women are more likely to divorce a man than the other way around. Until we change the system around divorce, and especially provide more equality when it comes to children's rights, marriage is likely going to favor women more than men, because men are on average going to be more attracted to marriage than women, especially if there are kids involved. That's wrong and needs to change. And as a lifelong believer in equality and feminism, if there is to be equality between the sexes, it has to change.
Juicy!
Ooh-wee! Ooh-wee!
Juicy!
Wow. And we basically learned that divorce is actually much greater than we all have thought.
So one of the top reasons that women resent their husbands and file for divorce is because she gets up and someone needs something. She goes to work and someone needs something from her. She gets home and there's someone who needs something from her. And if she's a mom, baths have to be done, homework needs to be done, lunches need to be made, something has to be prepared for dinner. The kitchen needs to be cleaned, the toys need to be picked up. And let's be real, the laundry and dishes never end. And she feels like her husband isn't helping. She's exhausted, she's overwhelmed, and she feels alone. She's afraid to ask for help because he's dismissed her feelings so many times before, so what's the point? By the time her spouse realizes, it's too late.
Juicy!